Hello and welcome to the Created to Create show. Today I have with me, all the way from South Australia, Steph Penny. Welcome to my show.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me. Such a pleasure to be here.
It is lovely to have you here. And tell me a little bit about you.
So, recently moved to Adelaide. I used to live in Sydney before that, but we felt life was too dull there. No, I'm just kidding. Life was crazy there, and we had an opportunity for a sea change, and we took it. So, loving Adelaide very much. I live with my husband and my fur baby, Boba, who is currently roaming around the house meowing. So I locked him out of the room so he won't grace us with his furry presence. I've been writing for a long time. I wrote a lot as a kid and as a teenager, and started writing in earnest in my 20s, about some kind of too hard basket topics and Christian living and what it was like for me to be single. And then that sort of turned into a book. And now I've self-published three books, which are all about surviving hard things. So the first
You're
one
no
was
longer
surviving
single.
singledom, and then I'm no longer single. I know. I wrote a book about like the hardships of being single,
Yeah.
and then I got married. So that was fine. I'm like, God, whatever you want to do here is fine. And then I wrote a book about being childless, and my latest book this year was launched about surviving chronic illness. So those are the three in the survival series. Oh,
Hmm.
there they are right there.
Awesome.
And now I'm sort of dabbling in fiction, which is very cool. So yeah, always a new adventure in
Yeah.
writing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So who do you write for? Is it young adult? Is it adult?
Do you mean in terms of fiction or non-fiction?
Tell me
Because it's a good question. The non-fiction books are largely for adult readers. With a book like Surviving Singledom, I didn't really feel like I could write it for teenagers. There's lots of teenage books on like dating advice and things like that, but
one for
I
the adult.
felt like as a 29-year-old that I didn't really need advice on when can I kiss or not. Like felt like I was kind of needing something a bit more meaty than that. So yeah, for adults, particularly adults who are single, childless, living
Yeah.
with chronic illness, but also anyone who knows someone in that boat as well, because there's chapters in there for carers or for loved ones, family members, partners, spouses. I think it's really important that we can support each other with these kinds of difficult issues. Yeah, when we're faced with them, and then the fiction stuff I'm writing, I believe I'm still learning about fiction age ranges, but I believe what I'm writing for is young adult. Watch this space if the age range shifts a bit older or a bit younger. So
Yeah.
I've heard that happen sometimes when writers write a thing and then go, oh, I thought it was for YA, but no, it's actually for middle grade. So then you have to go through and change all
Yeah.
the references. So watch this
Mhm.
space.
Yeah, that happened for me. I thought I was writing for adults and I realized I wasn't. So I was writing for,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's the
yeah,
thing.
upper end teenagers, the older ones. Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, didn't take much to change because that's who I'd written it for. Actually, it did take a lot to change because I had to revise the whole book over and over.
Oh no.
As you do. And do you feel boxed in now? You've written nonfiction and you're moving into fantasy. You're breaking the mold.
Yeah, I know, and it's a bit weird. Yeah, I did feel a little bit of the boxed innedness
Yeah.
writing the nonfic, and I actually felt inspired to write. Well, I've always loved fantasy and sci-fi, right? I kind of grew up in that sort of family, and sort of dabbled in those sorts of stories pretty much as long as I can remember. Um, but in terms of actually seriously starting to sit down and write fic, I didn't do it until my survival series was, my third book in the survival series was done. Partly because I felt like an urgency around that one, that felt like like me and God were kind of working on this thing together and getting it out to people who really needed the message. And then these ideas, though, especially there's been a couple of fantasy ideas that have been running around my head for a few years.
Hmm.
And characters that have kind of popped up in dreams and things. I get dream stories, not all the time, but fairly often. And with this particular story, the characters kept showing up in recurrent dreams, giving me like the next chapter of the story and then the next chapter. And I'd wake up and I'd be like, right, I'm going to have to do something with this at some point because these characters won't leave me alone. But it was hard, and I did struggle with the whole, what do I know about fiction writing? So I haven't kind of, done many courses or had much training, and so there was a little bit of self-doubt. We might talk about that more a bit later as well. But yeah, certainly it was hard for me to feel confident in just sitting down and writing a fantasy story. And honestly, without the support of certain Omega writers who were telling me to sit down and write the thing already, I might not have even done it. But yeah, with some encouragement, I felt like, no, maybe I can just like shift genres dramatically and write something completely different.
And for those who don't know about Amiga Writers,
Yes, Amiga Writers is a group of Christian writers based in Australia and New Zealand, I believe. And although we kind of dabble in other countries now, I hear some of us are going off to the US, being fancy pants globetrotters, which is awesome. So Amiga Writers have sort of chapters or groups all around Australia in the capital cities and elsewhere as well, where we meet regularly and we talk about writing and we encourage one another and we pray for one another and talk about writing as ministry and also as like creation with our creator as
yeah.
well. A beautiful group of people. And the first time I met someone from Amiga, I kind of went, oh, do I have to like go along to a writers thing now? Like, is this now what I am? I'm now apparently a writer, so I have to do writers conferences and stuff. And I was a bit skeptical, Michelle. I
Hmm.
was skeptical. I'd never been to a writers conference before. I
Hmm.
didn't know what to expect anyway, so I rocked up and it was fabulous. And
Hmm.
I met such gorgeous people. And this is like back in, I think 2016
Wow. Hmm.
when I first started with Amiga. And I met such wonderful people. And you know what? There wasn't an ego in sight. It wasn't about, I'm not going to share my stuff with you because you're going to steal my ideas and then, pull my rug out from under me. And there was none of that. It wasn't competitive. It was about how can I encourage you in your writing project so that you don't stop writing, but in fact continue writing to completion and then get your words out there. And I was so, so blessed by that. And I went, right, I'm going to commit to this Amiga thing. I think this is really worthwhile. And the rest is history. So we meet regularly in person and or online. Usually, every Amiga group's different, but usually every couple of months is when we'd meet up and we might talk about sort of writing craft or share some tips about marketing or share our actual writing with each other and get some feedback from
Yeah.
other writers, which is immensely uncomfortable and valuable.
So true. Yes. So they run a conference every 2 years and then an online retreat every other year. And they also, out of Amiga Writers, is the Caleb Award. And I got to know, I think, Amiga Writers back in 2010, maybe even '09. And that was my
Wow,
dip into writing back then and have loved the community ever since. Yeah. So valuable. So
it's
valuable.
beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just knowing that you're with, your brothers and sisters in Christ and you're all on the same page. Like the mission is the same, whatever you're writing, whether it's overtly Christian or just a pile of good fun, that it's all about using what God has given us
Mm,
to encourage others, to minister to others in whatever shape or form that might be, even if it's just to minister through sheer escapism,
mhm.
um, and to glorify him by using what we have rather than burying it
Yeah.
in the dirt. So I think that's so important. And so often our creative sides are, um, shall we say, demoted to the bottom of the to-do list or the priority list in our lives, and the importance can be played down. Sometimes we can feel a bit devalued as creatives because, we often don't get paid for what we do. And
And we can
It's
put it
very
in at,
unusual.
yeah, do the writing at the end instead of at the beginning, like it being an important part. So in saying that, do you have a routine for your days of how you fit the writing in?
Yeah, well, I had yes, it's a semi organized routine. I work part-time, so on my day off is normally set aside for writing. Having said that, sometimes appointments and things will crowd it out as well. But I really do try and get at least some form of writing done on that day, and it might be as simple as writing a short blog, or it might be chipping away at a story I've been working on, or editing a work in progress, or even looking at someone else's writing and giving them some feedback as well. So I try to do something that's really writerly in that sense on that day. And then on other days, like weekends or what have you, if I have little grabs of spare time, I'll try and do a little bit of extra something in there. It just depends on how I'm traveling. So yeah, it was like a semi routine. Um, I struggled with a long time though, even on my day off, to prioritize it. And I guess I'm probably not the only one who feels a bit like this from time to time, but I guess I've seen or I've long thought of the creative pursuits, music and songwriting and fiction writing as play rather than work, and therefore low priority.
Yeah,
Got to do the work things first
yeah,
and then play. So I would run around the house, right? And I'd do the housework and I'd do the chores and run the errands. And then I'd sit down towards the end of the day exhausted and go, right, now I'm allowed to pull out the writing and have a go at it. But because I was exhausted, because I
mm,
hadn't prioritized it, I wasn't really enjoying it or doing much. So,
mm,
and it wasn't until, others around me and people close to me too were saying to me, Steph, it does matter. It is important. It is ministry, regardless of how explicit any Christian content might be in there. It's something that God's put on your heart that won't go away. Write the flippin' thing already. And if housework doesn't get done, then we'll do it another day, right?
yeah. So
Like
good. I
that
agree.
that could be okay to do it another time.
It took me a long time to get into that frame
A
of mind.
really long time, and long enough to just value it myself and go, actually, this time is worth my attention and it's worth my energy. And I'm a morning person, so the best thing for me now with my writing routine is first thing in the morning, I write. And sometimes I'll deliberately procrastinate on other chores and things that need to be done because I'm like, no, 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 I have to write first. If I
Mm,
want to take a break later and do a chore in the break, then I can do that. But the writing is the thing today. So, but it takes a long time to get your head around that. So, transitioning into that space and transitioning into valuing myself, valuing writing, and valuing fiction, which is again different to how I placed value in the non-fiction, overtly Christian stuff I was writing. The fiction I'm writing doesn't have any Christian references in it whatsoever. Is it the same value as the overtly Christian stuff I was working on
mhm,
prior to this?
mhm.
Interesting question. And that's part of transitioning into a different genre is going, you know what, this is still valuable.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So true. So true.
Mm,
And it's really
mm.
important to get our head around it because that self-doubt comes in so often and we struggle. A lot of I don't know an author that doesn't struggle with self-doubt. Has it hit you at any stage as well?
Oh yeah, like day one. Day one. Interesting story about surviving singledom, the first non-fic that I wrote. I didn't set out to actually write the thing. I actually went shopping one day at a large, well-known Christian bookstore that shall remain nameless, and I was looking for resources for
Mhm.
singles, but I couldn't find anything that was like a resource for a single adult. So lots of stuff for teenagers on dating and lots of stuff for marries. And there wasn't anything else. And I was like, I can't be the only one who's single in her 20s. Like this has to have happened before, right? In the history of the planet. So I went out to the car park and I complained to God about it, how that wasn't okay, and we need more resources in this area. And then I prayed a really stupid prayer. I was like, God, you need to raise up writers to write about this very important subject. And then everything went quiet. And I went, oh no. You can't be serious, God. It was like he was, doing these ones at me. And I was like, no, I don't know anything about writing. Seriously, I'm not a writer. Like, I haven't done any training, haven't done any courses, all of that jazz. And he didn't seem to care. So I just started writing it anyway. And because I was so filled with doubt about my capacity to write a book, I didn't know how to do it. I asked for lots of help and advice, and I think that was what helped me to make the book a reality in the end.
Wow.
And then that sort of gave me a bit of confidence to start the second book as well. But no, self-doubt is so real, and I've had it all over again, switching genres. Again, what do I know about this genre? I've never written fiction before, even though I've written fiction like all my life.
Mhm.
I'm still like, no, 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 I still don't know what I'm doing. And I think that's true to some degree, right? Like I have a lot to learn about writing craft. And so again, I'm reaching out and getting lots of help, lots of feedback, especially from Amiga writers, God bless them, who are very patient and very encouraging with me and saying things like, do not give up on this story. The world needs this story, keep writing it. Also, take out the word just there. You don't need all those justs. So, with that kind of feedback, I'm hopefully getting better at
Yeah.
what I do. So, yeah, encouragement goes a long way and just a sheer persistence, I
Yeah.
think, as well. Just that whole, yeah, this might not go anywhere, but what if it does? It might be worth it, or it might be encouraging for someone or helpful. You just don't know. Mm.
Absolutely. And have you noticed any times of having writer's block since when you get over the self-doubt? Or if it's not writer's block, what's the hardest part about writing?
Yeah, I'm not sure about writer's block. I'd have to ask for a definition, I think, because when I hear people talk about writer's block, it sounds like it's when they run out of ideas. And my problem's probably the opposite. Like I've got so many ideas, I don't know where to start or how to write them all down or if I'm ever going to get to them all. And that's a big problem. I feel overwhelmed. And sometimes I don't know where to start because there's just so many
Yeah.
ideas to choose from. So I can get overwhelmed and then I can procrastinate and go do housework instead because I can't decide what I'm writing. That's a problem.
Mhm.
So the way that I deal with that kind of procrastination is I try and look at all the ideas I've got before me like a smorgasbord and think about which one's holding the most energy for me at the moment. And it might be the last project I worked on, but it might not be. It might be
Mhm.
a different one that I had another dream story about the other night. And I'm like, you know what? It's still playing on my mind. I think I want to go back to that and have another look and write another chapter maybe. So I think follow the energy
Yeah.
has been a good rule of thumb for me in that respect.
Mhm.
Um, the other times when I've hit a bit of a wall in terms of writing, and I don't know if it's writer's block or a different kind of block, but I think it's been when I need a rest or a break from a project.
Mhm.
Because I know burnout can be a thing,
Mhm.
especially if you've been working on something for a long time and you've edited it for like the 20 billionth time and you're sick of the sight of it. So sometimes having a breakaway from a
Yeah.
project or from writing is important. Sometimes because I'm living with chronic illness as well, sometimes I'm just really fatigued. Like
Mhm.
I don't have anything to give.
Mhm.
And so I need physical rest. Sometimes if my mental health isn't so good, then maybe I need stuff that's just more sort of nourishing
Mhm.
for me at the moment, or just a whole ton of self-care, or a day in front of the idiot box, whatever it might be. And I think the other time I hit a bit of a wall is if I've been doing a lot of creating, either writing wise, music wise, in any respect, and I haven't sort of had any creative infilling for a while. If
Mhm.
I've been doing a lot of pouring out and not a lot of pouring in, then I can feel like the well is sort of run dry a bit. So sometimes that's when I'm like, okay, time to get back to nature, or time to watch something completely different, or time to go browse through a bookstore, or whatever it might be. Something that kind of fills my creative well, I suppose, for want of a better metaphor. And sometimes, I'm guilty of this as a bit of a recovering perfectionist. I can be pushing myself to be creative instead of resting in our creative father
Mhm.
and working with him. Sometimes I get so caught up in the idea of I've got to do this for God, I forget to do it with him. So sometimes it's about a little bit of prayer and a bit of a reset and a recalibration with God and going, God, I'd love to hear what you think about
Mm-hmm.
this project, or do you have any ideas about this? Or I'm a bit stuck on that point. Shall we work on that, or shall we just put a placeholder there and move on with the next bit? What do you think? And having conversations with him, not being afraid to be vulnerable about if we're stuck or lost or have no idea how to finish the story. But yeah, being open with him about that and inviting him to be part of the
I
project with
agree.
us. Yeah.
My most beautiful paragraphs or chapters have come where I feel like I'm almost not writing, where it's like,
Wow.
what has to happen here? And it's like it just supernatural flow happens.
Wow.
So it is incredible when you invite God in. Yeah,
Mm. I
amazing.
love that. I love that
Thank you
so
for
much.
reminding me of that. Yeah,
Me too. I'm kind of reminding myself, and there's a project I'm thinking about at the moment where I'm like, oh, maybe I could invite God into that part of that story. Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Do it.
that's really
Let's
good.
look to your future and tell me what you're excited about.
I am so excited about these fantasy stories I'm writing. In particular, so the original one I started with, I've since started like a bunch of them. I've got this pile of works in progress now. Um, Send help. But the original one I'm working on is nearing the 50,000 word mark. This is the first time I've ever written anything like any story this long. My other books, of course, are longer than that, but like a story. And I'm so excited about potentially finishing one of these and calling it a novel or novella or whatever it is, depends on the word length, I suppose, and your target audience. But yeah, I'm so excited at the prospect of actually pulling one of these off and then like hopefully getting some feedback on it and going, hey, is this just my beautiful trash fire or should I try and do something with it? And beautiful trash fires are a thing. That's perfectly okay. But I think my goal with this has been purely to have fun. And that's really freeing to not feel like I have to push myself to then publish this just because I've published other things
Hmm.
before, that it
Yeah.
may or may not be for a publishing thing. I mean, I would love that, but it's not necessarily, I'm not tied down to
Yeah.
that outcome. It's more about enjoying the process and just kind of playing. It's a lot of play and improvisation and going with my gut on it. I've figured out I'm a bit of a pantster when it comes to fiction. So I have a bit of an idea, but then like the characters change
Okay.
the idea, and that's okay. I didn't plan that, but apparently that's happened now. So I just
Yeah.
have to keep on writing.
It's so
Um,
much
it's very exciting. It's very exciting, and there is a sense of freedom in that I'm just enjoying. It feels actually a bit indulgent, so I'm like it's a bit of a guilty pleasure at the moment. So we'll
It
see what
does.
comes of it.
I agree. The writing process does feel a little self-indulgent. And then I think to the other side, now that I have some books published and the people whose lives it has really impacted. So you don't know what's on the other side of your
Wow.
play.
Wow. That's really encouraging for me, even just to consider the possibilities. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't discount it. If God's given it to you, chances are it's for a
Mm.
reason. Mm.
Mm. Mm. That's what I keep telling myself because other people keep telling me that. And I'm like, maybe I should listen to what
Yes.
other mature Christians with writing experience are saying to me. Um, and that's, it's something I try and say to other writers now. Like, if you've got ideas that persist in your brain, like they're possibly there for a reason. The characters that don't go away, dream stories, if you get them, or dream songs, or anything like that that comes up and that sticks with you,
Mm.
it's likely to be something that I mean, I don't know where ideas come from. I don't know if they all come from God or if they come from us or if it's a bit of both. Like, who knows? Who knows the science of it? But in terms of, again, using what God has given us, be it ideas or the capacity to generate ideas, it seems such a shame not to. There was a speaker at an Omega conference a couple of years ago who talked about the parable of the talents,
Hmm.
and he was likening it to a bunch of writers. I don't know if you were there, if you remember
I have a feeling I
this.
was.
Oh
Mm.
my goodness, it was so good. So he talked about, the the servant with the 10 talents was like your Francine Rivers, who's just prolific and publishes all these wonderful books. And then you got the servant with the 5 talents, who's, like a moderate writer, puts out a few books. It's never going to be a bestseller, but they do reasonably well. And then you've got the rest of us who are given 1 talent, and we write our ideas in notebooks. And one day I'll do something with that, God, one day. And then the master comes back and says, "Show me what you've done with the talent I gave you." We pull out the notebook and go, "Where'd it go? It's gone. I know I wrote it down here somewhere. Lord, I don't know what happened. It's disappeared." And I don't know about the other writers in the room at that moment, but that just filled me with this sense of I cannot waste these ideas. I can't waste them
Yeah.
anymore. I couldn't live with myself if I had these great ideas in the notebook and then they just disappeared at some point and I was never able to get them back. And
Mhm.
I went, it was really like, it was a little bit kind of fear inducing, but it was also a bit, no, I think maybe these ideas are meant to be here
Mhm.
for a reason. Like, I think I better write them down at the very least, as a bare minimum, write them. And then whatever happens after that, we'll see. We'll
That's
see.
what we can't control. Yeah.
No, there's a whole bunch of stuff after that that we can't
Yeah.
control.
We just write it down and
Exactly.
do our best. Yeah.
Exactly. It's kind of God's business to
After
a
that.
point after that. Yeah, yeah. But the least I can do is write down
Yeah.
the ideas that will not leave me alone.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And for the new writers or people who haven't started writing yet and that's spoken to them, what words of wisdom would you like to give the people who are wanting to write or who are new at writing?
Mm, I think definitely paying attention to the ideas that nag at you, the ones that are persistent. It's probably for a reason, and it probably matters. It's so easy to think that, creative stuff, especially if we're not being paid, that it's not valuable. But I tell you what, when life is at its worst and we have just had a day from hell and we don't even know how to carry on, what is it that gets us through? It's art, it's books, it's stories, it's music, it's beauty, it's things that make our souls come alive. This stuff is life-giving and
Mhm.
it's crucial. And I have to remind myself of this every time, right? Like, this could make the difference in someone else's world, just like other people's stories have made such a big difference to mine at the times when I've needed it most. And I think the most important thing is probably, if you feel like starting to write something, then start.
Yep.
Start. Start.
Just
You know,
start. Get
write
it.
write a write a couple of dot points, write a character's name, write a location, write an idea, write something, and oh my gosh, then you've started. So then all you have to do is just keep jotting things down, keep making notes, outline if you like, or just start writing maybe a paragraph and then write a bit more. And then once you've got a couple of chapters, it's kind of easy to go, well, I've started this thing, better keep going, I suppose. But yeah, the starting, once you've started, you're a writer. You don't have to be published to be a writer. If you're writing, you're a writer.
I agree. Perfect. And on that note, all you want to be writers, get out there and write something. Put it down on paper. And I'm going to drop Steph's links and all her details in the comments below. Please remember to hit like and subscribe. Go visit Steph, buy her books, and we look forward to seeing you next time on the Created to Create author interview series.